that led me to binaural beats, which I didn't really know what they were, but the more I kind of learned about them, the more interested I got. And then combining that with music is what really got me excited because that, to me, takes it to another level in what they provide.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our creative collaborative chat. We're here with Eric Kummel today. Very excited to speak with him about binaural beats, something that was new to me and is likely new to many of you. So hello, Eric. Welcome.
Hello, hello. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me. And yeah, I think most people don't know what binaural beats are, and I didn't until somewhat recently. So.
Maybe, Eric, we can just start. You can give us an overview of what you do, how you use music in your life, and maybe how you came across binaural beats.
Yeah,
what
sure.
led you to them?
Yeah, so I started producing my own music around kind of the heart of the pandemic because, like a lot of other people, had a lot more free time to do things and was looking for some chill vibes, chill energy during that time. So I started making lo-fi music, which I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with, kind of the study, focus, very calm instrumental. So that kind of introduced me to that community, which is one of the loveliest communities on the internet, by the way. But then as I started looking deeper and deeper into some of this more chill, relaxing music, I slowly stumbled upon, you hear music at spas all the time that are those drone ambient pads, and that led me to binaural beats, which I didn't really know what they were, but the more I kind of learned about them, the more interested I got. And then combining that with music is what really got me excited because that, to me, takes it to another level in what they provide.
Awesome. Yeah. So almost like a natural intrigue that came just from being exposed to it and wondering, hey, what's like the science behind this? Which I think a lot of us music therapists are very interested in too, because of course music therapy combines art and science, and for me that's something that really drew me to the field as well. So yeah, I wonder if you can give an overview for those watching who are like, what are binaural beats? What are they?
Yeah. And we'll preface all this. I'm not an expert or doctor, science person here, but basically you really need headphones to really get the best effect, but you're putting two different tones fully panned to each side, so left and right, two slightly different tones. And then your brain kind of creates a third tone that's an auditory illusion that's not actually there. That's the difference between those two tones. So if you say in your right ear you have 396 hertz, and in your other ear you have 406 hertz, the binaural beat there is the difference between. So 10 hertz is kind of the tone that your brain is creating, and then whatever that difference in hertz is can have different effects on your brain relating to brain waves and what hertz they actually emit at, because our brain does shoot out brain waves all the time.
And yeah, in terms of those brain waves and maybe finding the binaural beat that reaches that brain wave, you've kind of mentioned they can be like customized or personalized based on what like individual preference or goal or objective that you're trying to reach. Is that fair to say? You can choose like what kind of desired maybe outcomes might those specific binaural beats or goals might they be trying to achieve for an individual?
Sure. So just similar to actual brain waves from science, there's five kind of different frequencies that you can get with binaural beats, ranging from like a 1.5 hertz difference all the way up to 40 or 80, depending on who you talk to. But yeah, they're all kind of designed for what state your brain is in when they're emitting that hertz. So for example, something like a delta brainwave, which is between 1.5 and 4 hertz, is kind of the state your brain is in when you're in a deep sleep. So if you listen to binaural beats in that category, it's supposed to help kind of relax you and help you with sleeping that night. Same can be said for some of the different ones, like an alpha binaural beat between 8 and 13 hertz is supposed to be more for focusing if you're trying to get work done, or if you feel like your brain is all over the place and you can't just sit down and be calm. That's where the alpha one comes in. So you could definitely cater to whatever people feel like they're struggling with. You can kind of cater that to them. And then what frequency in the ears you're actually dealing with can have a different effect as well. So whatever people need assistance with, you can definitely gear towards that specific thing.
And I think a lot of us, myself included, use music for those things already, like focus. There's
Yeah.
certain songs I'll turn to that help me focus. And I wonder, it'd be interesting to look at those pieces and find out, are those, do those have a certain binaural beat? Are they within one of those ranges? You know, are they, you mentioned alpha, there's, is it gamma?
Yeah, beta, theta, delta. Yeah, the classic names.
Yeah. That's awesome. And so can you mix binaural beats with like a favorite song, or is it kind of just listening to them solo to get the full effect? How do people actually practically use them?
Yeah, I'm not sure there's a ton of studies actually saying one is better than the other. I think a lot of it is personal preference. Like some people, they fully just want the binaural beat effect, and the music maybe actually distracts them from that. So they'll just have like the pure tones in each ear and listening to. But I know when I make them, I put them on top of music just because for me, that can be extra relaxing and easier to kind of drift off and not focus when you have other things music wise going on along, kind of, because sometimes just straight tone drone is kind of, it can be kind of cold when there's nothing going around, so I like to warm it up with music, but really it comes down to personal preference and whatever works for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you sent me some of your pieces, your playlists that you've created with binaural beats and music overlaid, which is wonderful. So we will share that playlist with our audience as well, and any other compositions you've put together too. I'm sure
Yeah,
people will
definitely.
love to hear that. Um, and is there kind of like a certain time period that you need to engage with those binaural beats before you feel those effects, whether it be wanting to achieve that deep relaxation or focus and attention? How long do you need to listen, and maybe how long does that those effects last?
Yeah, I think it's kind of like meditating. It's mostly about consistency and kind of finding a routine. So I think it's definitely best if you can find time to listen every day, even if it's just for, you know, a song, 10 minutes, half an hour, whatever you have time for or whatever you need. And ideally, it should, again, kind of be like meditating. Immediately after you're done, you should be feeling more calm, more focused, whatever you're trying to get. And how long it lasts, I mean, I guess it kind of depends on what you're doing afterwards. If you immediately go into a stressful thing at work or family things, whatever, it can go away pretty quickly, that calming effect, depending on what happens. But if you're doing it regularly in your routine, then you should be able to focus and get the effects pretty quickly. And again, like meditating, once it starts working, I feel like you won't even notice until you're just, wow, I feel so much calmer.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if you have found any like interesting research findings involving binaural beats that you'd like to share, or any anecdotes of ways it's helped or supported individuals?
Yeah, they've actually done quite a few different studies. Obviously, it's kind of hard to get fully accurate data because there's so many variables with like what type of hertz, the type of people that are listening, how they're listening, if it's with music, if it's just pure tone. But I think the biggest thing that they have seen it help with or decrease is anxiety, and specifically trait anxiety. So as opposed to, one event kind of triggering anxiety, people who have it just consistently and it kind of ebbs and flows, people who were listening to, I don't remember what hertz specifically this study was talking about, but that was the biggest thing they saw a biggest dip in is people dealing with that. And I think the other biggest one they've studied it with is memory recall specifically. And I read about one that they had a difference of 5 hertz actually decreased instant memory recall, like short term, and then 7 hertz increased it. So even like a 2 hertz difference, almost nothing, but had completely different effects, which I don't know how or why that's happening, but it's all interesting.
Definitely, definitely. Maybe I will link some of those studies below in case
Definitely. Some
interested.
of them are pretty, pretty academic. So it's even though I'm only grasping about 15% of what these people are actually saying.
Yeah, we can at least read the abstract or the conclusion and hopefully
Sure.
draw some data from there, some info from there. So that's yeah, that's fascinating. And I think, like you said, it's hard to. You mentioned it. It can be hard to gather that data because it's so personalized. It sounds like contextual, which, of course, in
Mhm.
music therapy, we can understand that every person connects with music differently, and
And every brain is totally different, right?
exactly what works for one person might not for the other person.
Yeah.
But it's amazing that it's another avenue that you can use in a structured way of kind of knowing, okay, this type of binaural beat can work for this. Let's see if it'll work for me. I know we've talked a little bit more about music therapy. Eric's not a music therapist, so um,
Right.
you know, it's not that you use it with your clients or anything like that. But any ideas of how we could use it within music therapy
Yeah,
with
I
our
think
clients?
yeah, I think there's multiple ways you could use it, whether it's kind of having a pre-made playlist that kind of deals with whatever anxiety, need help sleeping, trauma that people have gone through, or having kind of a custom menu to help them where, oh, you're having trouble sleeping, so you should have this. And you can even align the hertz with different chakras, which are supposed to, of course, help other things as well if you have them within that tone. And implementing other things to kind of build, it's almost like making a song, right? When they're building these different things together, and you can slap in different nature sounds if they wanted to do that. You can really encourage creativity in putting all these together and working directly with the client, so it's custom made for them and they can feel like they're a process, almost like I know you guys work on like making songs together and writing lyrics or music itself. That could kind of just be a jump off point for this as well.
For sure, I could see using some of those as backtracks for composition, songwriting, or I believe I've mentioned to you how sometimes we make ISO principle playlists where you know you make a playlist with a desired outcome for a client, kind of meet them where they're at by listening to a track that maybe matches their mood, and then slowly changing the track to hopefully
Right.
augment their mood to where the desired place. So I could definitely see binaural beats having a place in
Yeah, and
it.
even like maybe doing that as you mentioned, and gradually putting in a binaural beat on top of them as the playlist gets deeper or more calm or anything like that. You could definitely play around and experiment.
Mm-hmm. Fascinating. And I know you mentioned a little bit about the chakras. I
Mhm.
wonder if you can touch on that just briefly.
So there's people often talk about binaural beats and then the solfeggio frequencies, which I think people are probably more familiar with because they've been around a lot longer, like going back to thousands of years ago in like the medieval times with Gregorian chants and the do re mi fa sol la ti das, like solfeggio frequencies, and they're supposed to be, certain. I think there's 9 of them now, specific hertz that are aligned with your different chakras. So the difference between solfeggio and binaural beats is instead of two pulsing tones. Solfeggio is just one tone that would be at 396 hertz, and that's there to deal with a specific issue or ailment, or supposed to help someone through whatever it is. Like, I think 6 of them are actually lined up with the different chakras, but I think you could implement both of them if you have a binaural beat that's kind of within the parameters of a solfeggio frequency. Then you're kind of double dipping and getting the best of both worlds.
Mm-hmm. And I know you mentioned, like, for years this has been used.
Mm-hmm.
Are binaural beats something that have been used in sound healing or in yoga practices and things like that? Like, how long have they been around or been used? I know so many pieces of music therapy, people have been using those elements for so long, right? Now we're just putting it into maybe a more structured scientific perspective. But yeah,
I think binaural beats were first, someone was doing papers on them like in the late 1800s, and then it was kind of forgotten about for a while, and then the last 40 or 50 years it's kind of been studied a bit more. But the solfeggio ones, I know, like, the church was using in medieval times as healing for people, so much so that the church was like, this is working too well, it's taking away from us. So they were like, stop doing this to a lot of priests. Back again, we're like 1,000+ years ago. So they've been around a lot longer, and I think they are used more in, like, I've seen in sound baths and different healing things like that, that they'll just have the solfeggio frequencies going in the background. I think they're a little easier for settings like that because you don't need headphones. It's just a single tone going through. So just playing through a speaker is fine. Whereas binaural beats, you really get the best effect with headphones, which is harder in a group workshop kind of setting.
right, right. So if it's playing through a speaker, it's not. I guess
You'll still get the effect. It's just, it's harder to hear unless you have like really good 2 big speakers.
Yeah, and I imagine, like, the volume levels to be adjusted a certain way, or maybe
Yeah, you got to stand right in the middle between the 2.
yeah.
But yeah, like yoga classes, sound baths, I've seen and heard solfeggio stuff being used.
Hmm.
And it can be the same as binaural beats. It could just be the pure tone that's catered, or on top of some chill music.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm excited to use this myself and
Yeah, they're
experiment
all
with it.
over. Like, you can find pretty, not custom, but there's a wide range of them, even just for free on YouTube.
Just if you search up binaural beats.
Yeah, binaural or the solfeggio ones.
Or if we search up your YouTube as well.
That's right.
Which, again, I'll link below. But that's great. Thank you so much for sharing all of this, Eric.
Oh, my pleasure. Happy to chat about it anytime.
I don't know if there's anything else that you'd like to add. Of course, people can reach out to Eric if they want to know more.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to share?
Yeah, I think just, if you're interested in it, just try it out. Go through some different hertz, different frequencies, see if some of them call to you more than others, or seem to have more of an effect, and just kind of experiment, play around, because there is a crazy amount of options. And if you do it even for a week, like once a day, can only do 5 minutes, I think you'll find yourself feeling more chill afterwards.
Fantastic. I will, as I said, link all of Eric's links, and maybe just some extra information too about binaural beats if you want to read more about it. So thank you again, Eric.
Absolutely. Looking forward to chatting more in the future.
Me too.